Hello, Rob from Fountain Pen Journey. Now, the other day I did a video review of the TWSBI Eco Yellow Special Edition from 2020. This is along with the very same sorts of lines. This is a review of the TWSBI ECO-T Coral, which was 2019's special edition colour of the TWSBI ECO-T. Which, as it happened, matched Pantone's colour of the year, which was, what was it called? Unbleached coral or something like that. Anyway, it's a coral coloured pen, which is a nice, in my view, under the camera, difficult to really sort of demonstrate the colour of this. But it is a coral, it is coral pink cap and piston filling knob. Now, in this review, I am also going to give you a comparison because the TWSBI ECO-T, it confused me. What's the difference between the Eco and the ECO-T? Well, I've brought along its companion, the TWSBI Eco, and we'll compare these pens side by side in due course. So keep watching, and I'll go through the parts of this pen, the TWSBI ECO-T Coral, and discuss this pen, and then move on to the comparisons, and then do the writing sample. So this particular pen is right. Let's get one thing straight from the start. The TWSBI ECO-T is virtually the same pen as the TWSBI Eco. There really isn't a lot of difference, but there is one massive difference in it, which I'll get onto in a moment, to do with the section, which may be the thing that, well, it will be the thing that divides people. So we'll start at the top of the cap. Right, as you can see, it's almost like a rounded triangular cap, and it does have the plastic TWSBI logo inserted in red, which I always think looks a bit wrong. It's not too bad with this coral version. It almost it doesn't match it, but it's not that bad. It can stick out like a sore thumb, but anyway, red plastic insert on the top, sort of rounded triangular barrel, same clip as the TWSBI Eco, and it slides on and off things, but I don't like these clips. They're almost impossible to use, sort of very stiff, very tight. It's a slide onto something and pull off thing. You can't lift this very easily with your fingers. Cap band, engraved TWSBI ECO-T and Taiwan underneath. So yeah, you're dealing with an ECO-T, which, to be absolutely honest, I've been using this pen alongside my TWSBI Ecos, and for a while I haven't really figured out what the difference is. I actually had to really sit there and have a think, and there are differences which become obvious when you know what to look for. Piston filling fountain pen. Ink reservoir holds at least same capacity as the TWSBI Eco. It's about just over 2.5 millilitres of ink. It's a demonstrator. They're all demonstrators. 2 O-ring seals on the piston. Piston filling mechanism, the piston turning knob, which, as you can see, is also rounded and sort of triangular in cross section there, and a slight recess. So I'll get back to the uncappings. Same as the Eco. Unscrew the cap. It's about 1 turn, and the cap inside. There's a liner and stuff in there. Never had any issues with this this nib drying out. And what have we got? Well, we have, in this particular example, 1.1 millimeter italic nib. And I know that sometimes it seems to be sold as a stub, but it's basically an italic nib. So vertical strokes, very fine. Horizontal strokes, very broad. It is a steel nib. These are TWSBI nibs. They are interchangeable between pens, and I'll talk about the nibs in a bit, in case you missed my review of the TWSBI Eco. Clear, colourless feed, and you can see everything going on in there. And this isn't a very pigmented ink I have in this this pen, and you can see that the entire feed, nib, and everything is all visible. There is an O-ring there just to help seal the cap. Piston filling mechanism with this very beautifully coloured, I suppose matching, it was the closest match I could find, Pilot Iroshizuku ink. This one is Fuyu-yaki, which is winter persimmon. And when you write with this ink, yep, it definitely is the colour of persimmon fruit. Same piston filling mechanism. This simply turns and it moves the plunger of the piston up and down inside the barrel so that you insert this into your bottle of ink, turn the knob, and the piston either descends or ascends, and when it's ascending it draws ink or liquid, pen flush, whatever it is, up into the barrel of the pen. Does it post? It does if you get the cap the right way around. Yes, it posts securely, and there is, as with the TWSBI Eco, a rubber O-ring just around this area here, which the cap posts onto and grips. Lengthwise, yeah, it's, in my view, I mean, the TWSBI Eco is one of these things, if you've got really big hands, I think it's probably a good pen to post. I don't post them, mainly because there is the risk these piston filling knobs can be turned. They don't lock in position. They are, you draw it up to a certain point when the barrel's full of ink, and it kind of tightens up and holds itself in place with friction. Mess around with this too much, that will loosen, and you will end up with ink being expelled from the nib and feed of the pen. So unposted, it's a good size, really, really good size. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier about the differences between this TWSBI ECO-T and the TWSBI Eco, first one. This is going to be the deciding factor. This, right, I'll just reassure everyone. This pen, this one that I am holding in my hand right now, is the TWSBI ECO-T, and it has a slightly triangular section. So you think about the triangular cap, think about triangular grip sections. This has got a slightly triangular grip section, which isn't very visible sort of front on, looking at this sort of proximal or distal end, there we go. But there are mild facets, 1, 2, 3 of them, and they are rounded. They're not quite as indented as the Lamy Safari section, but definitely they are there, and they're there to try to force your fingers into this tripod style grip. If I go out of orientation, that would be annoying. So it's tripod grip only with this pen, as with the Lamy Safari. So there is your thing, people. If you don't like triangular grip sections, you don't hold your pen in this sort of tripod grip like I'm doing now, this pen could be annoying, or at least very uncomfortable for you to hold. So that is the difference. That is the big difference that you need to know about the TWSBI ECO-T. Other differences, well, to be honest, we've already talked about the section. I mean, just to show you here, this is the TWSBI Eco. Yeah, it's round, it's slightly tapered. There is nothing on this section which is going to infuriate or annoy anybody. So we've got that 3-sided grip section. Now if you look at the top of the TWSBI Eco, hexagonal 6-sided outline on the cap, and at the piston filling knob. Compare this with the TWSBI ECO-T, and you can see, yeah, it's triangular, sort of. It's still got effectively the 6 sides, but every side of this 6-sided I don't know what sort of shape you want to call it, I'll just call it a rounded off triangle, is rounded. So there is your indicator. That is the biggest real difference when capped that you're going to see. And the same design aesthetics extend down to the piston turning knob, piston filling knob down at the bottom of the pen. So hexagonal, six-sided, triangular on the TWSBI ECO-T. I'll just talk about the nibs. Now, I find TWSBI's nibs to be generally very, very good. They are steel nibs. There's no flex or anything fancy like that. Steel nibs, and they, for the price, usually are very, very good. I have had to adjust a few. This medium nib that I have in the TWSBI Eco here, the yellow one, absolutely fine. Great nib straight out of the box. Medium nibs I've found in general with TWSBI pens tend to be no problem, or at worst just need very, very minor adjustments and tweaking. But some of their other ones that I've had have not been as good, including the broad nibs and including this one in this pen, which is the 1.1 millimeter stub nib, which, to be absolutely honest with you, is I'd say it's not terrible, but it needed a fair bit of smoothing. It's more of an italic nib than a stub nib. So stub nibs, you know, should be rounded and everything else. But I think these 1.1 millimeter nibs are actually more like italic nibs. So let's do the writing sample now. So there we go. TWSBI ECO-T Coral, special edition from 2019. And it is a nice colour. So let's get onto this. This is Rhodia paper, and you will notice that there isn't a lot of feedback noise or anything like that, even if you could hear it. Compare it to the TWSBI ECO-T, which is a medium nib. And that's a smooth nib, but there is a lot more feedback. I've done absolutely nothing to this nib, but it's great. I love it. It's fine. This 1.1 millimeter nib in the TWSBI ECO-T was awfully scratchy. I mean, even for an italic, it was like, you know, gouging. You did this on the paper in whichever direction, it would just gouge and plow into the paper. It was hideous. So I've had to spend a little bit of time using micro mesh to basically smooth out those corners on the pen so that it didn't end up so scratchy. I mean, it was fine in the horizontal, but anything sort of in these directions tended to be very, very scratchy and unpleasant. So you can see that this is a decently wet nib, and I have absolutely no problems whatsoever with the flow keeping up whatsoever. I mean, it's absolutely great. This pen, even though, you know, potentially it is going to be using an awful lot more ink because it is broader. I mean, let's have a look. These are the vertical strokes and these are the horizontal strokes. So you can see there is a big difference in line variation. This isn't pressing down. This is the 1.1 millimeter italic nature of this so-called stub nib. Verticals are one thing, diagonals, yeah, I mean, they tend to be quite fine. So it's mainly horizontals which give you this nice bit of line variation. it's not, in my view, it's not a massive, it's not a massive italic nib. I mean, you, those of you who've seen my Shaping No Nonsense videos where I'm using even a fine italic nib, and it's, you know, the line variation is absolutely insane. I mean, you've got sort of teeny tiny thin lines like this, and then the lines about this thick where you go across. I mean, it's absolutely huge. So those nibs are monsters, and they're very good nibs. But anyway, back to this pen. As you can see, good writer. This is now smooth. It wasn't good at the beginning. I did have to work on this nib, but I have had other TWSBI Eco, or other TWSBI nibs, 1.1mm stub nibs, which have actually written much smoother and been far more enjoyable to use. So, you know, these are inexpensive fountain pens, and you can't expect the nib quality to be 100% first time absolutely every time at this price point. I mean, this is a good pen. It's very enjoyable to write with, and even for an italic, 1.1mm italic, you know, it is a nice nib. It's practical, and you do get enough line variation for it to be interesting. So there we go. TWSBI ECO-T 2019 Coral Special Edition colour, with a bit of a comparison to its aesthetic counterpart of the TWSBI Eco. So I hope you found that this review of this pen was useful, and I hope you found that the comparison with the TWSBI Eco was also useful. I should just do a little bit of a scribble down here. Oops. There we go. So, two very similar pens, which quite honestly aren't going to be vastly different for the majority of TWSBI Eco fans, apart from the triangular section on the grip of the TWSBI Eco-T. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you found it useful. I'll see you next time. Bye.